Welcome back, gamers. It's been a minute since our last video, but I have some very exciting news which I want to talk about today. We finally got our first look at single player details for the upcoming Halloween game, and I haven't really seen anyone talking about this, but I wanted to point out they officially changed the name. It seems it used to be just Halloween. Like when they would talk about it in trailers, they'd say coming soon in Halloween. And now it's literally like the branding is Halloween the game. So just wanted to point that out because I hadn't seen a ton of people talk about that, but I think it's very interesting, and honestly, it's a very good change. So starting out, a couple highlights of the new articles and trailers we got from the big announcement over the weekend. Story mode is going to have 6 chapters featuring new and familiar locations. We've probably seen a lot of these already with some of the map previews and such. I would expect these to be used, obviously in multiplayer as well as the single player mode, because they're kind of focusing on that open sandbox type gameplay. So I think we'll see that throughout both modes, which is very interesting. They also stated that Loomis is going to be the narrator of the single player mode as well as be in the cutscenes, and there are lots of cutscenes in general. I think this is expected. I wouldn't go in thinking you're going to get like a 10-hour story mode, but if you can get like maybe 6 hours, like if a chapter takes like an hour to play, I think that's pretty good, or even less than that. I think that's a pretty safe bet for a little single player game. And they also state a little bit more info about the story and the fact that the whole point is you're leading up to the first film and the events of the first film, and I think we'll probably get in a little bit with the first film. I think we'll kind of touch that a smidgen here and there. And they want you to make your own story, so basically everything you do is you're making your own Halloween story, which is very neat. And they also state here that the final chapter will I don't know if it will focus on a meeting with Laurie, or if that's how it ends. We don't really know how much Laurie we're going to get in the story. We do see her officially in the trailer. She looks very good. It's not Jamie Lee Curtis's likeness, but I think for a Laurie Strode, it looks good. And another thing to note, they are saying that there are going to be core objectives for each chapter, and I think this is pretty evident. You're going to have whatever the theme of that chapter is, you're going to have one core objective that you're going to aim to do, but ultimately you can kind of do whatever you want. They're focusing on the game being a bit of a sandbox. You can play and do as you choose. You can play Michael how you want, and I think that's neat. It adds more replayability. And to go along with these main objectives, they also will have secondary challenges. And I would say these, expect these to be things kind of like how we had in Killer Clowns I would expect them to be, beat the chapter on easy, medium, hard difficulty, etc. Or maybe beating a chapter without being seen, or without using a specific ability, maybe without even killing anyone, or using a type of weapon, stuff like that. I would expect that to be the case. And they also stated, which I think this is fantastic, I honestly want to make a whole video on this. They said that doing some of these secondary challenges will unlock in-game collectibles that will reveal additional lore, new executions, gameplay scenarios, and even unlock exclusive multiplayer cosmetics for Michael and our heroes of Haddonfield. And that last bit right there is what we wanted to hear. I do think, for a couple of the shortcomings that Killer Clowns had, that was one thing they did really, really, really well, was all the customization and, having the players do challenges and complete things in the single player mode that will then add more content for the multiplayer mode. You couldn't ask for anything different. I think this is a home run idea, and I really hope it is executed well, which I think it will be. And they also even specifically stated that they will want players to beat these chapters on different difficulties. So that said, I wouldn't expect the chapters to be like crazy long, but you do want them long enough, where there's enough meat to them. But you don't want to have like a 3-hour chapter that players are going to have to do a million times. So very cool. I love this idea, and I think it is. I think it's a good choice. I think it'll be nice to see different customizations, and we'll see what all we get. Kind of really the only other thing they say in the article is just that they want players to make their own story, be their own version of Michael. Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be brutal, methodical, or are you going to do something else? I think we're going to have a lot of options to how we want to play the story mode, and I think in those options will be, they're going to tie into some of the challenges, kind of like how, like Resident Evil games do it, where they encourage you to play the game multiple times doing different things. I think this is a perfect idea, so I really can't wait to see how it plays out once we get the full game. And I will say the price is absolutely fantastic. I was truly expecting it to be more than this. You get $40 for the base game or $60 for the deluxe edition. I would have expected it to be at least $20 more for each of those versions. So I really do think $40 and even $60 is a steal. If you're going to play the game, you're going to like the game. You know, if you think you like the game and you want to play it, get that content probably a little bit cheaper, you know, $20 for everything else it gets you, I think is pretty good. When that DLC is available for purchase separately, I would expect it probably to be like $5 more than that. So, you know, if you do want to get in early and save a little bit of money, it never hurts to do that. But yeah, I mean, for a multiplayer game, $40 is pretty expected for an ASIM. That's kind of the running number, and the fact that we can get a full single player mode with that is top tier. And just want to kind of note here, because it's a little bit confusing in all the wording, but if you pre-order, you do get the Phantom Myers skin. However, if you don't pre-order, then this skin will not be available for the future. So for the other two characters and the inmate Michael skin, those will be available for future purchase. So just note that you can buy those later, but you cannot get the Phantom Michael skin if you do not pre-order ahead of time. And yeah, other than that, you get the, get the game early, which is awesome. They also stated you can get, I guess, more surprises if you get the deluxe digital edition. So I guess we'll see what that comes with. And they also announced on Twitter too that there will be a physical edition. I would expect that probably closer to release, or even later. I feel like a lot of games, as of late, they're coming out with this digital version you can buy, and then doing the physical media copy like later, sometimes up to like a year later it feels. So just keep your eye out for that if you're interested in that. You'll probably end up buying the game twice, but if you love it and you want to do that, then it'll probably be worth it to you. So obviously make that choice on your own accord. And a couple other things to note here: the new character Richard here is voiced by Spencer Charnas of Ice Nine Kills, which is super cool. He's a huge horror fan, so it's awesome that they were able to get him pulled in to the game in some sense. And then Alexis is voiced by Christina Klebe, who should be familiar to many people in the horror ASM space. She was the voice of Sissy in TCM, as well as Jenny Myers from F13. So kind of a cool callback that she still has a good working relationship with Gunn and Ilphonic, and that's nice to see her voice carry on. And also note that she was a character in, or she was an actress who played a character in Rob Zombie's Halloween. So kind of a little cool callback there. And that's not the only other person I would expect to be in the game. We don't know who is voicing Laurie Strode yet, but my gut is telling me it's probably Scout Taylor Compton. She had a very good working relationship with Gunn, through all of TCM. She did the female victims mocap, as well as she was the voice of Julie. So I would expect her, I would expect her probably to be really the voice of Laurie, and if she's not, I would expect her to be at least one of the other female heroes, probably a voice, and who knows, maybe she's doing both. But yeah, Scout is kind of big in the game right now. She is the voice of Lady in the Devil May Cry Netflix series, which just had its second season come out, and it got announced for a third season. So she's very popular there, as well as also being Laurie Strode in Rob Zombie's Halloween. So to me, it's the perfect fit. I would be very surprised if it's not her in that role, but time will tell. And yeah, that's kind of everything we got here. I just wanted to share some of these nitty-gritty details that I feel like I haven't seen a ton of people talk about. And yeah, we don't know any stats yet of these new characters. I'll be very curious to see the stats and the breakdown, skills, etc. of all of the heroes. Hopefully we get that soon. Time is coming quick to the game's release. We are less than I think 100 days away, somewhere right around there. So it'll be here before you know it. And yeah, without further ado, I will let you all carry on with your day. And if you are interested in seeing and learning more Halloween the game info, please consider liking the video and subscribing. I promise I'm going to be back on the video train. I had a baby recently, so things have been crazy. I'll probably make a video update on that just to kind of discuss where I've been, but I wanted to let you all know that we are here, we are not gone, and we will be back in full force. Anyway, have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.